Hello, guys. Welcome to tonight's live chat. I see you guys signing in. Good to see you, Kamisha Green. You've been waiting. I'm gonna just put your comment on the screen here. You've been waiting a while, right? And you finally made it. So it's really good. Good to see you. Let me deal with Instagram again. I don't know why they do this to me every single live chat. Sometimes I get lucky, sometimes I don't. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to get this hook back up for Instagram, and then we're going to go ahead and jump in. How are you guys doing? How are you doing in terms of the holiday tomorrow and experiencing some of the traffic and the people who are trying to shop and be a part of Mother's Day? How are you feeling? The reason I ask that is kind of to get you to look within, because I think Mother's Day is a double-edged sword. It could be the most wonderful time, especially for those of us that have really good moms. My mom tends to be a wonderful mom. Don't think I could live without her. I probably shouldn't say that, but she really is a big piece of my life, my siblings' life. So I was really blessed to have a really good mom, not so much a good dad, but I was glad to have a really good mom. But for a lot of you, and especially those who are on this channel, there's toxic family dynamics that has a way of penetrating the parent-child relationship. And sometimes that mother just can't be a mother, right? Let me welcome. I'm just going to say welcome to the chat, guys. Come join us on my channel for a community experience. Okay. All right. Instagram is looking good. So, I know a lot of you on the channel tonight, most likely has some really tough family dynamics. I have really tough family dynamics. A lot of you may find yourself saying, you know what? I don't want to deal with Mother's Day. Excuse me, not Father's Day, but Mother's Day. Jermaine yesterday is probably going to be with us tonight as well. Had a hard time with Mother's Day. And, you guys were so supportive of Jermaine. I want to make sure I throw that out there as well. But Jermaine was uncomfortable with Mother's Day. And so I totally get it. I actually, before we jump into this idea, and I'm going to frame this idea so you'll know what we're talking about specifically tonight. But I had a conversation with a sweet old lady. I went to my local Target, and it's like, if I go to Target, Home Goods, Home Depot, and Lowe's, the staff are like, oh my God, hello, Tamara, come on in. What are you getting today? Because literally I live there, And so I went in there today. And one of the sweet elderly ladies in Home Goods, who tends to call me to her register, and she rings me up and she says, you look so pretty today. And I said, oh, thank you. I didn't put any thought into this. You know what I thought? And so she was laughing. I was like, I just thought it felt like pajamas. That's why I put it on today. I don't want to be in this day. I just want to be in a relaxed frame of mind. So she was laughing, So we're having a little bit of a positive moment. And it turned to be a little bit more of a serious topic, because she says to me, happy Mother's Day to you, Tamara. Your mother has raised such a wonderful person. And I said, I'm really humbled by that. Thank you so much. And then she looks at me and she says, as many times as you have been in my register, I have not told you that I lost my mean, wicked mother 12 years ago. And that was the best day of my life. I said, oh my God, I just can't believe you said that. And so she looks at me and she says, it's okay. Don't even bother saying I'm sorry for your loss. She says, because I have the kind of mother that nobody wants to have, the kind of mother who just sucks all the life and energy out of you. And so we kind of stood there for another like 10 minutes or so. People in the back of me were probably like, get the heck out of the way, lady, with all those flowers, because I was just standing there with her and trying to just be present in the moment. And so, she kind of helped me refocus my lens a little bit, because me wanting to celebrate my own mother and my siblings wanting to celebrate my mom, it's like I constantly am reminded that there are so many other people that are not happy about this holiday and not happy with the reality of what this particular holiday does to all of us. You know, it kind of puts us in a state of mind that's emotional, right? Whether that's good or negative. And so I walked away from her just kind of processing that on my way home. And I think it's a good start to this conversation about accepting a falsehood, accepting the fact that there is uncertainty, accepting that there is untruths, and being able to push forward through that. You know, this is the psychology of a false sense of reality. And that could be with you or it could be with a family member. Either way, it's a really tough place to be in, right? Because the brain and the mind, which are two separate things, the brain is that neurological piece of the puzzle that kind of interprets our experiences, our reality, you know, and our brain also interprets what's truth and what's fiction, why we find lies at times comforting, right? Think about the whole Mother's Day ideology. You know, everywhere I went at the end of April was Mother's Day based. Everything. And like I went into Home Depot and it was Mother's Day in there. I saw like flowers and roses. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. This is the middle of March. Why are we doing this? But the world kind of, and what I mean by the world is mainstream society, they get sucked up into that ideology of Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, Thanksgiving. And before you know it, you're getting sucked in too, right? And your mind can go through this process of feeling like you are sinking beneath all that labeling and commercialism and that thing that we just tend to drive in our society. That's really an unhealthy thing, you know? Lies and untruths kind of help support, according to psychology, it helps support the false sense of reality that a lot of human beings find themselves embracing. It's a false sense of reality. The false sense of reality, for example, is Mother's Day is a wonderful day for everyone. No, it's not. It's not even a wonderful day for most people in society. It's just not, right? And there's many different reasons why. Maybe your mother was abusive. Maybe your mother's a narcissist. Maybe your mother was a mommy dearest kind of a mommy, right? Mommy Dearest, the movie, if you have ever seen it, some of you have mentioned it with me on here. Maybe your mother is self-centered, right? She's not very self-sacrificing and loving. Maybe she walked out on you. Maybe she creates chaos. The lie and the false reality and the false sense of comfort is that everybody is celebrating Mother's Day, and that is not the case. There was a point in time in my career when I was gaining expertise and I was growing into my position as a therapist. So I was pretty new, but I remember walking into a store around holiday time and I was literally getting ready to purchase balloons. And I don't remember what it was for. It might have been for my grandmother. Something happened with my grandmother and I was getting her balloons for some event. And I thought, wait a minute. Not everybody is out here buying balloons and flowers. Nobody really seems to be that excited about this particular holiday. Nobody's buying boxes of chocolates and roses and candies. You know, nobody really seems to be doing that. And I don't remember if this was around COVID time or what. But I remember thinking the world feels dead. But I think really what the issue is I was stepping outside of my mind and seeing the world for what it was, which is that particular holiday, it might have been Christmas. I want to say Christmas, or maybe it was Valentine's Day. I can't remember. But one of those holidays, I remember thinking, not everybody is in the same mindset about this particular day. And the same thing holds true for Mother's Day. I know you're going through what we call, or what I'm calling, mental gymnastics. I know you're going through mental gymnastics, right? You're trying to jump through some hoops and you're flipping flipping and tossing around in your mind how you feel about Mother's Day, how you feel about your mother, your relationship with her, your father, your sibling. We might as well bring in all the other family members. Maybe it's a relationship that you've had or you're in. Mental gymnastics is a variety of maneuvers in your mind that you have to go through in order to be comfortable with a lie, right? If let's say, for example, if you wanted to celebrate Mother's Day and you know your mother is nothing but a cold-hearted, immature narcissist, right? You want absolutely nothing to do with her for Mother's Day because you don't feel that she's earned a happy Mother's Day badge, right? But let's say your cousin is having a party for your mom or for all the moms in the family. You're going to be celebrating your sister, your wife, your grandmother, right? There's some kind of event you've been invited to within your social group for Mother's Day, a barbecue, a cookout, a dinner, right? So you may be going through all of those things. You may be going through all of those things, right? Which causes your own mind to then go through mental gymnastics, because now you're thinking, maybe I should be engaged in this. Maybe I should like the holiday. Maybe there's some things my mom did that wasn't so bad, But what if I go over and I see my mom and say Happy Mother's Day and she thinks that I forgive her because I'm still mad at her, Or what if I just ignore my mother completely for Mother's Day? That's mental gymnastics. That takes energy, right? And you may also be experiencing mental gymnastics in terms of, I don't want to be ghosted again by her. I don't want to be stonewalled again. I don't want to deal with the passive aggressive behavior again, the manipulation, right? And so that's mental gymnastics, having to go through your mind to figure out how you feel about something. And so a lot of people don't like to do that. So what happens? Well, sometimes we either accept a fraction of reality or we accept the entire whole. And we say, oh, okay, I don't have a good relationship with her. So guess what? I'm not going over her house. I'm not sending her a Happy Mother's Day card. I'm not sending her flowers, nothing. And some people say, I'll send her a Mother's Day text and that's it. Other people say, I'll send her a Mother's Day card and that's it. Right? So mental gymnastics, that's rough, right? It's easier and it's more desired to allow a false sense of reality to come into play, especially when it's holiday time, right? Or something like Mother's Day is going on, or when somebody wants to live in a false sense of reality. It's so much easier to accept that reality that it's, maybe I should put it this way. Let me turn that around. It's so much easier to accept a false reality than it is to accept the truth. So we go through, as humans, what's called paralysis of analysis. Paralysis of analysis. Here's what that means. Our ability to analyze things becomes paralyzed when the reality of them or the reality in front of us is too painful. Some people, like myself, they feel things first, intuitively and emotionally, and then my mind catches up later. Does that make sense? So it's like my heart goes first, my mind and my rationalizing and my logistics or logical side of my brain follows my heart in most situations. So my analysis is often on point because I'm one who accepts whatever comes my way. I try my very best to. But there are people, and you may relate to this, there are people who are experiencing a paralysis of analysis. The analysis is depressing. You don't want to analyze. You don't want to explore what's happening. Maybe you're tired of analyzing. Maybe you say, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to have a life where there's peace and quiet and tranquility. And I don't want to go through the narcissism with my family. I don't want to go through the headache with my family. I don't want to go through the headache with my own mother for the holiday. I just want everything to go away and leave me alone, right? And so you're not going to analyze anything because you are tired. So you may experience a paralysis of analysis and of exploration. Now, when I was doing a little bit of research for this live chat, guys, I read something that I thought was pretty cool. And it was about a lottery, playing the lottery. And a psychologist was explaining that we tend to get hooked by a false sense of reality when we deep down in our soul and heart hope that things were different. So let's say, for example, your father is some kind of arrogant, pompous, disrespectful creature, if you will, and your mother is just terribly arrogant. You want nothing to do with either of them, but because you're financially tied to them, you can't slam the door completely. You're working on it, but you just can't slam the door completely. Why do we tend to sit and experience this internalized fear of walking away for good, being really tired and saying, you know what, I'm done with you? Why do we have a hard time accepting that, yes, I've been stepped on, yes, I've been abused, yes, I have been mistreated, yes, I have been all kind of ways with my family, they've done everything to me, but still I feel afraid to move. I don't know if I should or shouldn't go no contact. I'm having a really hard time with the reality of the relationships that are all around me, and I feel stuck and paralyzed because if I leave my family, how is everybody going to see me then? How is everybody going to see me then, right? So we get kind of stuck there. And so a psychologist who had done some research on the psychology of untruths and a false sense of reality, he used the example of a lottery, that people who play the lottery, no matter how many times they lose over and over and over and over, they have that one bit and piece of hope that if they go back and play on Monday, if they go back and play on Tuesday and Thursday, Friday, maybe Wednesday too, and Sunday and Saturday, that maybe they will hit the lottery and maybe they will become billionaires. It's that little piece of hope. And, you know, I read that and I thought, you know what, I should steal this and say I came up with it because that is so awesome. I very much agree with that. We tend to do that, don't we? We tend to say, there's that little bit of hope that's down in there. Maybe if I maneuver things this way, maybe if I kind of influence things that way, or maybe if I say, you know what, I forgive you, come back in, things are going to be different. But the reality is that they aren't, right? It's the mental gymnastics that we are in. And mental gymnastics is a process that can fatigue you, you know? The same psychologist said that there's a boundary between where knowledge ends, okay, and ignorance begins. Let me go back over that. The same psychologist, I posted his information in the description box. I'm going to make sure that I highlight it for you when we wrap up at the end. But he says there's a boundary where knowledge ends and ignorance begins. So here's what that means. You may be as logical and smart and psychologically engaged as you can, but there's a limit to that. And once knowledge comes to an end and we decide to cover our eyes and act like nothing's really happening, then that's where ignorance begins. And that's where the heartache begins. And that's where the false sense of reality begins. That's where the pain and the rejection of reality begins. And that is a slippery slope, right? The moment we minimize the truth that's in front of us, if it's our family, if it's another relationship, if it's our own mental health, whatever the case, if we minimize the reality of it, then that is where ignorance begins. Knowledge ends and ignorance begins, and then we begin to suffer. Now, let me throw in here, before I go to the chat box in a little bit here, let me throw in that our brains are wired. They are wired to seek out patterns and meaning. So you may find yourself during this time, Mother's Day time, your brain is going back to when mom abused you, when dad was okay with it, when mom was an alcoholic and was arrested so many times for DUI. Maybe dad was somewhere in there as well, and it kind of shocked you and abused you and led to trauma and emotional dysfunction. Our brains are wired to look for meaning and patterns. And so you may find yourself experiencing memories, flashbacks. We talked about this yesterday, dissociation, re-experiencing of problematic and traumatic events, right? And it's a very normal process. It's a very normal process. And usually holidays like Mother's Day triggers it, especially for those of you who feel like you haven't had a really good mom, or you haven't had somebody that was a female role model, for you. Now, there are some people who are so in denial, and I like to separate them. So one class of people, they have toxic positivity. My grandmother was that kind of way. My late grandmother, she's the one that passed away in 2020. She was so positive, and she was a praying kind of a woman too. Like, she was almost like uh, the Nigerian families. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Some of you guys probably will be familiar. Nigerian families pray the most aggressive prayers. Okay. I mean, aggressive prayers. They are like, saying these strong words and coming to God in this really bold, aggressive way, asking for help and support and love and forgiveness. And so my grandmother, although she was a Nigerian, she had that edge to her, And so, I would bring I was in college at the time, back in 2009, 2010, somewhere around in there, when she was with us. And I said, Gaga, I called her Gaga. I said, you know what, Gaga? There's this guy on campus. He keeps bothering me. And she's like, well, maybe he just wants to talk to you because you're so smart. I says, well, maybe, but I'm not interested in anything with him. I just want to study and graduate and move on with the rest of my life and let fate take over. He's trying to force things. So then she comes back at me like, well, he'll probably go away. He didn't go away. He got worse. Okay. And this should make some of you laugh. He came up to me one day after class and he's like, and I didn't talk to this guy. I didn't know this guy. I didn't talk to this guy. I had nothing to do with this guy. I didn't even live on campus. I lived at home and I drove to campus. But he's like, I want to take your hand in marriage. And I said, excuse me? He's like, I want to take your hand in marriage. I've seen you walk the campus a few times and I just know you're for me. And I'm like, no, nope. I don't know what's happening to you. And so I'm thinking this is a psychotic break, a delusion. I don't know what this is, but something is wrong here because we're not supposed to be. And so I went to my grandmother because he was really starting to get on my nerves. And so I went to my grandmother and I'm crying and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And mom wants to address him and I'm going through that whole thing. And the first thing she said to me was this: oh, just stop crying. Put a smile on that face. Stop crying. Everything's going to be okay. God's going to take care of it. And I says, but Gaga, he's starting to feel like a stalker. And she's like, just leave it alone, honey. It'll be fine. The world always works things out. Everything is going to be okay. And I'm like, why the heck are you so positive? And so you think I took something serious to her again? No, I did not. She was so positive that I couldn't get through to her. I'm scared. You try to walk the campus of a college and somebody says, I want to take your hand in marriage. And you're like, what? I've never seen you a day in my life. Right. So I remember being so young and just looking at her, wanting this in touch sense of reality that came from her, and I couldn't get it. I was looking for her to give me some kind of wisdom, some kind of deep revelation, and she couldn't do it. She was so overly positive. And so a false sense of reality is part of that, right? The world doesn't always work things out. She was saying to me, the world always finds a way to work things out. It's all in God's hands. Let it go. Just keep smiling. Focus on your schoolwork. And it's the most lonely feeling because you're sitting there like, I just need you to hear me. I just need you to feel what I'm going through. I don't need you to tell me it's going to be okay right now because you don't know that. You know what I mean? And so that false sense of reality can come through as toxic positivity. It can also come through as a positive belief state where you're kind of in this place in your mind that says nothing can go wrong today and nothing can go wrong ever because this is my positive mental space for today. And that can be a false sense of reality, because if we're anything that is over the top, there's a possibility of failure, right? You're too positive, you're too negative. There's a possibility of failure of either or. So we kind of have to be in the middle, right? But when you have toxic positivity going, or you're in a positive belief state for the day, the month, the week, the year, it blinds you to the reality that's before you. And it really can lead to a slippery slope. So in tonight's live chat, before I go to the chat box, tonight's live chat, I'm going to give you some roadblocks to acceptance of reality, because you may have seen yourself here. I want to introduce a new type of mental, I'm going to put it this way, a new theory, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. And we're going to talk about what that means just very briefly. I want to bring up some existentialism, because you may be stuck in an existential place in your world. And then I want to give you some tools on kind of how to crane yourself out of that rut, of a false sense of reality, or that mental gymnastics you find yourself doing. Okay. I like Randy here. I'm going to point you out really briefly. Randy, thank you for saying that. Welcome to tonight's live chat. So good to see you. Randy says they are so positive until it happens to them. Right? Yeah, absolutely. They do. When something would happen to my grandmother, she would be like, she would come off of toxic positivity level and she would drop down to hopeful, and for me, that was a normal, safe place for her to be. But when things worked out and everything looked wonderful, she'd go way back up to toxic positivity. And I couldn't stand it for the life of me. I am a realist. Okay. You're not going to lie to me, try to manipulate me, try to get me to see things your way. You're also not going to make me think that everything is okay when I know it's not. But some people can live like that. And my grandmother was one of them. She was one of them. I love her dearly. I was hurt when I lost her. Oh, that was so painful. But she was too positive, I have to say. Give it a think. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Good to see you. I'm going to pull yours up here because you're right. Stalkers do need swift and severe consequences. Yeah, I'm not so sure that this guy was a stalker, but I mean, you just see me on campus, walking across campus. I don't want you coming up to me saying, I want to take your hand in marriage, because I certainly don't want to take yours. I don't know you. You know what I mean? So I'm being kind of humorous, but it was a not a very happy thing at the time in my college education. Orlando, welcome to tonight's live chat. Good to see you tonight. Always good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Kanisha Green, hello and welcome. I'm so glad. I think I said this at the beginning, that I'm so glad you can make it as well. Good to see you. I can work things out, Breezy. Hello and welcome back. So good to see you tonight. Okay, Honeybee. Trying to find a group of you. So Honeybee, Fairy Girl, Cat Sushi, that's cute. Jermaine and Regina Myers. Hello to all of you. Welcome to tonight's live chat. So glad to see you. Nancy R, good to see you. I saw your chat message from yesterday. I'm like, how did I forget to acknowledge Nancy R? So forgive me for that. Sometimes I just can't get to all of you, but always glad to see you when you come back. Honey B says, I left you a message on the office number. I'm local. I do hope to hear back. Thank you. Oh, okay. That's so cool. I've been a little bit of out of the office, working from home, going to the office for 2 hours, coming back home. So bear with me. Good to see you though, Honeybee. Ellie Wen, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Kanisha Green says, I am grieving. This is the first Mother's Day without my narcissistic mother, and I am the scapegoat, but was left alone to take care of her on hospice and then all funeral arrangements. Oh my Lord. That is the most painful. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. I dealt with a lot of the funeral arrangements, the estate of my grandmother. She asked me to step in as executor, and I had no idea she was going to do that. She wanted to keep the peace, and she knew that I was the one that could kind of hold that boundary. But let me tell you, I'm not going to be anybody else's executor for the rest of my days. That was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my whole life. But I totally understand it. You know, it's painful that you're grieving, right? You have this absence of heart because it's kind of like, you know, I'm hurting because I have this absence that is still somewhat a piece of me, right? And then in addition to that, grief alone is a process, right? And that process can have you going through denial, anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance, right? Those 5 stages of grief and loss. And then you can find yourself getting stuck in one of those stages, like depression, anger, resentment, right? And so it's like this roller coaster in addition to all the bills that you have to pay on top of that for the loss of your mom. So it's tragic. I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. Do know, and this helped me a lot as my grandmother's executor, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. A lot of people can relate to you. For sure. You're not alone. A seat at the King's table with Tanisha. Hello and welcome. Good to see you back tonight. Mark Lee, hello and welcome. Good to see you back tonight. Yosef Beatus or Beatus. I'm going to say Beatus. Hello and welcome. So glad to have you. Welcome to the channel and thank you so very much. I love that. This is the best show on mental health. I totally say thank you to that because I think that is really awesome and humbling. So thank you so much. Thank you. I might start calling the channel that. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. The Good Glow, hello and welcome. Good to see you. And thank you for that. Same to you. Yeah. Dawn One, hello and welcome. Good to see you tonight. Dawn One says, I'm feeling relief from going no contact. Yeah. That's when you know that going no contact is really almost like the only thing that was left for you to do to feel free. I hope I said that correctly. I feel like I confused myself. Going no contact shows you that that's the only thing that can save you and has saved you once you do it. You know, that's the scary and sad and depressing part. Some people say, I regret the fact that I took so long to go no contact. Oh, that's so rough for me to hear as a therapist, you know, but that's the way it is for a lot of people. I can work things out. Breezy says, oh, I hate my birthday too. Is that normal? This year really messing with me. I'll be 39. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. I'm a May baby too. So my birthday is this month as well. And we're around the same age. So let me tell you, okay, I have been doing this. I'm going to make you guys laugh, okay? I've been doing this for the past month. And my mom is like, oh, here it goes. Menopause. And I'm like, you're lying. This is not happening. And I'm literally sitting like this. Okay. And I'm doing this. And she's saying menopause is hitting you. And I'm like, no, it's not, Mom. No, it's not. And I'm in denial. Okay. So I work things out, Breezy. Don't feel bad, my dear. I'm with you. Let's just be depressed together, okay? Because I was in my office the other day and the air conditioner is going, okay? And I'm sitting there. My client was a few minutes late. I'm sitting there doing my progress notes. We do notes on our clients' patients, things like that. So I'm doing notes. I'm hitting all the key places. I'm typing. And I sit there. I check my phone. I'm like, okay, my client's like 15 minutes late. I probably should call her, reschedule. And I'm doing this. I'm like, where's the error? And the air conditioner is going. So Breezy, it's okay, babe. I'm with you. Yosef Badiah says, Mother's Day is every day. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Fairy Girl, I love this. Reframing our holiday experiences. That is literally the only thing that we can do when we don't have that positive motherly kind of a parent, right? You have to reframe, adjust your view, right? kind of dial things back so you can see that even though this isn't what I want it to be, I can still make this something without going into denial, without a false sense of reality, you know? Okay. Bear with me. A Statin 85, hello and welcome to the channel. Happy Mother's Day to you, and thank you for that. Good to see you. Okay. Yeah, thank you for that, fairy girl. This screen name is going to trip me up for the rest of my life. But hopefully, can I call you, that icon is so cute. What's the pound cake? This little pound cake on the side. That's what it looks like to me. Pound cake. But you're asking me, what is Mommy Dearest? So Mommy Dearest is a movie that focuses on a woman who was very emotionally distraught, and she was trying to raise a daughter who she absolutely drove insane. And she drove her daughter insane because she was literally a roller coaster of emotions, right? And she, for those of you who know the movie, and she was just very erratic as a mother, angry, emotional, histrionic, meaning that she had very theatrical edges to herself. And she wanted to be more important than she really was. And she wanted to be great and wonderful, but she abused her daughter behind the scenes. So that's Mommy Dearest. If you type it in YouTube, you should be able to find a movie. You should be able to find like a channel that still has the movie. Orlando, did I welcome you? If I didn't, hello and welcome. Good to see you. Orlando says, I personally don't have a good mother. Yeah. Ugh, that's hard. I'm so sorry to hear that, Orlando. Jessica J, hello and welcome. So good to see you in tonight's live chat. Jessica J says, hello, fam. And Tamara, it's been an extremely difficult week, struggling, wishing your mom happy birthday. Mother's Day, Tamara. Thank you so much. Feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, I understand. It is okay to feel overwhelmed, especially this weekend. It's okay. Tian Smith, I feel like I always mess that up, but always glad to see you. Hello and welcome. Good to see you in tonight's live chat. Okay, bear with me, guys. Couple more, and I'm going back to the content. M. N. Odell. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Good to see you. I agree. Yeah. The only time that you can truly embrace a good mother or Mother's Day is when you have a good mom. I enjoyed shopping for my mom. You know, I enjoyed wrapping her things, and I even enjoy watching her open them. You know, we're not a materialistic family. I could, you know, leave gifts or embrace them. It really doesn't matter to me. For me, gifts is a show of, I love you and I want you to have this because I want to see you smile. I want to see you happy. And I want to see that you are aware of just how much you are loved. And so I enjoyed shopping for my mom. I always do, for birthday, for Mother's Day. But if I had a mean, cold-hearted, detached, emotionally immature mother, would I go through all the trouble of shopping with a lot of people who half want to run you down and push you down in the malls? Not at all. Not at all. So I totally get you. It's a very normal reaction in Odell. Honeybee Journal, or no, I'm sorry, excuse me, Honeybee Journey. Hello and welcome. Good to see you. And welcome to the channel. MS, hello and welcome. Good to see you. MS, you're my last one. Then I'm going to go back to the content. MS says, thank you very much for being here tonight. You're welcome. And I totally appreciate your thanks. You know, it's so humbling. So thank you for always saying thank you. MS goes on and says, last night topic was so helpful. And I literally uttered the exact same words when my mom died. Best day of my life. Oh, that's awful, but it's so true, right? And I knew it would be. No more sadness, just numbness. Oh, that's so rough. My Lord. MS, you should put a disclaimer on that comment. My Lord. It is what it is, right? Okay, let's jump back in. What are some of the common roadblocks to acceptance of reality, acceptance that maybe you do have a family that's unstable. Maybe you do have a toxic and dysfunctional mother and family dynamic. Maybe there has been a paralysis of analysis for you. You're not analyzing things as closely as you should because you're tired, you're exhausted, you're hurt. You don't want to believe what's happening, right? That mental gymnastics I talked about at the very beginning, where you're in this state of, what's going on here? Why is this happening to me? Why can't I get over this? Why can't you just be A, B, and C? Why do I have to go through this, right? So that mental gymnastics, what are common roadblocks to acceptance? Psychology, and I have also seen this, psychology says, and I also back this up, the number one thing is a fear of discomfort. I don't want to deal with the discomfort. It's too painful. Reality can rub us the wrong way because reality has a way of showing when we're not ready, hitting us when we think we've already accepted it. Reality also has a way of changing the trajectory of our mind, changing the trajectory of our reality. We have to often flip, almost like you're playing flashcards, right? You're going through in your life, right? You got to flip one card over and see what you're given. Flip another card over and see if that person is what you think. Flip another card over, right? And you have to look at that and say, okay, is this what I want? Is this not what I want? So life is basically a process of acceptance and grieving, acceptance and grieving. At least that's the way I've grown to see it. And so when you're in that state and something else hits you and you have to tap into reality, there's going to be discomfort. So fear of discomfort. The other thing is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Excuse me. You guys know what that is, right? It's kind of like there's gaps in your knowledge of something, but it's easier to act like those gaps don't exist. I'm not going to look at the fact that I'm missing A, B, and C. This may be something maybe a family member did to you. I'm not going to believe you. I'm going to accept the lie, even though there's gaps in my lie. I'm still going to believe it because it's easier. The Dunning-Kruger effect. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. There's also the process of a failure to recognize gaps in, how do I want to put this? Gaps in your knowledge or your sense of knowing. There can be gaps there where you're not getting the full picture because it's too painful to look at, right? I'll give you an example of this. I had a client 5 years ago. She was the cutest kid. She was 15. And, she and her brother were twins, fraternal twins. So they didn't really look alike, but they were born at the same time. And she was like this talented singer who was on her way to audition for American Idol at the time. Happy, everything was great in her life. But she came to my doorstep to be a client because she went online to Google what was happening in her family. And she realized that when she looked back and she processed some things, that brother that she held on to so dearly and tightly had sexually violated her. And what happened to her was he utilized a variety of techniques on her to get her to be quiet, to get her to never say anything about it. And when she hit 15 and got into therapy, she was able to unravel all the gaps in her knowledge, but without being able to explore what was happening to her. She just accepted reality. And there were tons of gaps in knowledge for her. And that was okay with her because she blocked out the hurtful, painful reality. So some people are like that. They have a failure to recognize the gaps in their memory, the gaps in their knowledge because it's too painful. You may also recognize within yourself apathy and numbness. MS just said she was feeling numb. And Kanisha, I don't remember. I think you said something similar to that. When you start to feel apathetic or numb, that is a trigger. That is a sign. That's what I'm looking for. That's a sign that the reality that you have experienced, you are experiencing, is painful. And it's so painful. It's almost like when you stub your toe and you don't feel that pain right then and there. You may feel it worse later because endorphins runs to that injury, right? And it kind of numbs things. That's kind of how this is in your mind, right? apathy and numbness. You're not necessarily experiencing the totality of the pain because there's a sense of numbness and apathy that protects you, you know? And so that's a slippery slope as well, because you can become so numb that you go into denial. So we do have to watch, you do have to watch that, you know, but a lot of people feel numb. Social status, that's another thing. That's another thing. It's hard to accept reality when you feel like that reality is going to bring you into a certain place that you don't want to be in. You know, I don't want to accept that my dad violated me, because if I believe that, then I have to consider that we are this kind of a family and not that kind of a family. A lot of people go through that. There's also a fear of vulnerability. Some people rather just stay in a fantasy. Let's just not look at that over there. I'm going to keep my false sense of reality right here. And maybe it's a false sense of reality that you think is not happening, right? You think you're accepting reality, but you're not. So either way that goes, you know, fear of vulnerability is at the core. I don't want to be vulnerable, so I'm just going to close my eyes. Nothing's happening. Nothing bad is happening, you know? You may also go through moralizing, where, you know, you get into this place of mind where you're considering the core, the foundation of a situation. And even though you may lack some knowledge and insight, you truly believe that you are doing the right thing, you're going the right way. Let's take, for example, going no contact. Your family members may say, how dare you go no contact? Don One, he just said he feels free going no contact. So Don One, I'm going to use you as an example. Maybe a family member said to you, how dare you go no contact? I can't believe you would do something like this. And you may say, I have to do this for my sanity because of the way that you guys have treated me. Your family member can engage in moralizing by making statements that aren't necessarily true against you going no contact, but they're going to do it because they have this place of superiority. And they feel like their conclusion is the only conclusion, right? So you may get hit with that moralizing. I can add some things in the description box for you if needed. Moralizing is interesting. It comes up a lot in families where you or anybody is deciding to go no contact. So we may get to that at a little bit of a later time. You may also find yourself dealing with what we call an illusion of permanence. An illusion of permanence. It's like saying nothing is going to change. There is no need for me to change. There is no need for me to walk away. I don't want to deal with the pain of going no contact. So I'm just going to stay involved because I don't want to change the dynamic of this situation. If I leave and go no contact, the situation is going to change. I rather stay here and cover my eyes and maintain a sense of false reality so that I don't have to deal with the pain of walking away. So that I don't have to deal with the pain of walking away. So I'm in this mindset or this illusion of permanency or permanence. I'm not going to budge. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay here because this is safe. And a lot of people are like that. Some people who know they have really unhealthy parents, they truly are throwing themselves in the lion's den, if you will, for Mother's Day. And they're going to sit at the table and they're going to text their mom and they're going to embrace their mom and they're going to buy gifts for mom, even though they know it is not a healthy dynamic. It is not a situation that is a healthy one. Now, let me throw this in here before I go back to the chat box. You can go through an existential period in your life where you're going through an existential crisis where it's hard to really accept reality. Maybe you've accepted it, but now you're starting to feel like you want to go back or you want to see things differently, right? Or maybe you've accepted the reality that Mother's Day is never going to be for you and you're okay with that. Whatever the case, you may find yourself in a mental state of existential crisis where you can't really make a decision. You can't really figure out, should I do this or should I not? Should I say hello or should I not? Should I text her or should I not? Should I email her or should I text her instead? Should I call her? What should I do, right? An existential crisis, which is really the idea of how do I manage the reality and the fate that I am now facing? How do I embrace this and swallow it and deal with it and manage it now that I see that this is the way my life is going to be, you know? Existential anxiety and discomfort, that's likely to happen as well. Maybe your existential anxiety kicks in when you realize that, okay, I need to at least send mom a text. I need to just at least send mom a thank you card, a Mother's Day card, maybe with a rose. And then I'll stay for 5-10 minutes and I'll leave. I'll say I have to get to work or I have to do something else, right? So that existential anxiety may slip in there and make you feel like you don't know what to do. And you're not sure if you're doing the right thing either. Existential discomfort, that's another piece of the puzzle. You're just kind of feeling this internal discomfort. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. Existential acceptance. There's an idea in existential acceptance that says, I have come to a place in my life where everything doesn't quite add up the way I want it to. And it's hard to face reality. It's painful. But I have to accept it because of A, B, and C. So you may actually get to existential acceptance, if you aren't already, where you realize that acceptance is important, values is important, commitment to change is important, okay? Really looking at the reality that things may not end up in a better place once you go no contact. Some people think that if they go no contact, things may get better. Things may never get better. So then you have to accept that, right? So existential acceptance is something that's huge, especially when you have a family that's in a toxic dynamic. How am I going to accept that this is the family that I have, this is the dynamic, and this is how we are all responding to it? Existential acceptance. It's a really tough road. Acceptance and commitment therapy, very briefly, is kind of similar to existential acceptance. Acceptance and commitment therapy, really works with your thoughts, your feelings, and behaviors. And if you find a therapist who practices or teaches acceptance and commitment therapy, you will see that the goal is accepting, embracing, managing, and really being aware of your reality and the things that you need to just say, you know what, this is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not going to fight this. I'm not going to cover it. I'm not going to be afraid to address it anymore. And I'm also not going to be manipulated in this situation any longer. I've accepted where I am. I have figured out where I need to be. I have made my position firm and clear, and that is it. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that. And that's what acceptance and commitment therapy calls commitment to action. Commitment to action. I have committed to taking action. And taking action could be not texting mom on Mother's Day if you know she's going to respond to you and hurt your feelings, and you're going to be hurt for the next month, right? Commitment to action says, and acceptance says, I'm only going to email her and I'm only going to communicate via email. They won't be long sentences. It's going to be a paragraph and I'm done. I'll respond kindly and then I'm done. Commitment to action and existential acceptance is, I'm going to accept that this Mother's Day, I don't have the kind of mother that I love and I want. And that is okay. I can reparent myself. I can love myself. I can heal myself. I can boost myself. I have friends I can rely on. I have aunts and uncles I can rely on for that parental love and guidance. Mom isn't the last stop, right? And so that's existential acceptance, and commitment to action. Okay, let me go back to the chat box and take a little bit of a break. I'm going to give you some insights on how to kind of work your way through this, and then we will go ahead and wrap up. No worries. No worries. Go ahead and check that out. It is up and live. Yes, you're welcome, Honeybee Journey. You're welcome. Okay, just looking for comments, guys. Bear with me. That's so sweet. I truly thank you for that. That is really sweet. Yeah, that's exactly what I strive to do, is educate you to the correct things, give you the knowledge that I've been given through personal and professional experience, and then have you walk away feeling like, wait a minute, the truth has been validated, and the truth is the truth, and this is what it is, So thank you, Honeybee. That's awesome. So glad. Cat sushi, yes, it is like paying taxes. Please don't bring that back up. I was traumatized this year. Sun and Sunflowers, hello and welcome. Always good to see you in a live chat. Okay, bear with me as I look for comments, people I haven't gotten yet. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica J. I just saw your really lovely comment. I appreciate you. I'm going to star that one too. Oh, goodness. YouTube. There it is. Thank you, Jessica J. I appreciate you. I do. Let me keep going, guys. Looking for comments. Tammy Nicely. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. I just didn't get to you yesterday. I wanted to, but good to see you tonight. Yeah. Astaton 85. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but Astaton 85 says no contact isn't healthy either. It's living in a bubble of your own sainthood. And it's an unforgiving heart that is not good for you at all. Well, let's walk the line with that one. Astaton 85. Let's walk the line with that one. So some people have to go no contact, and that doesn't mean it's not healthy. No contact could be you sexually violated me, and I'm going absolutely no contact with you as my uncle because you have never been a safe person. You have never been a safe individual. You have abused me, lied to me, and deceived me. So what I'm going to do is build some space between me and you, so that you're over there doing your thing and I'm over here doing mine. And guess what? That is okay. Doesn't mean I don't forgive you. Doesn't mean I don't love you as my uncle. It just means you have hurt me, you've violated me, and I choose to put up this roadblock for right now so that I can protect my heart and my own sanity, right? When you look at it from that position, it makes sense, doesn't it? Some people have to go no contact with their adopted family, right? They were adopted as a child. The whole family is not very stable, and the child has to build their life somewhere else away from that adopted family. And that is no contact. No contact isn't necessarily the same thing as stonewalling. Stonewalling is I refuse to talk to you, and I also refuse to involve you in my life. I'm acting like you don't exist. Now that may be unhealthy, but going no contact is not always unhealthy. Sometimes it is a healthy thing, and you have to do it. There's this repeated stigma that going no contact is unhealthy, and that is not the case. You have to know when to go no contact, how to go no contact, and why to go no contact, and do it in a gracious way so that you can keep your sanity, right? So I wanted to throw that out there for all of you, just so that you have the correct lens on going no contact. I have a complete video, a few of them on my channel about going no contact. I break it down so all of you understand that going no contact is not an unhealthy thing. It's the way in which you go about it. It's the reasons why you go about it, right? And again, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you're unforgiving either, because you can forgive from a distance, right? I can forgive you and not want anything to do with you. So, okay. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted that correct lens. Kamisha says, I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name earlier, I think. Kamisha said, oh my, that lottery analogy is perfect. I know, right? I thought the same thing. I'm like, I should have made that up. Yeah, I should have made that up. All right, bear with me as I go along. Yeah, I know, fairy girl. I know. Yeah. Yes, sun and sunflowers. I agree. Thank you. Okay, bear with me as I go along. Okay, here we go. Empowered woman, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. Shocking that happened to you in real time. You were supposed to be here tonight. Bear with me. Air Force Civilian Chronicles, hello and welcome. Glad to see you. Thank you for backing up kind of what I said. We're saying the same thing. I'm going to read it. Air Force to Civilian Chronicles says, someone said that no contact is saintly and unforgiving. That's what people say when they want you to stay mired in abuse. Is it mired in abuse? and disrespect. You can forgive, see your faults, and still go no contact. 100%. I'm going to start a comment. I very much agree with that. Yeah. And the research backs that up, you know? Yeah, the research backs that up completely. You know, that's the good part about the community that's on my channel here, and all of you guys that are here, is that we can educate each other and re-educate each other. You know, someone said something to me on here the other day, and I'm like, really? That's a thing? You know, and so I'm learning, as we're all learning on the channel. Cute little pound cake here. I'm just gonna call you pound cake, okay? Until you correct me on what your name really is. But pound cake here says, I remember when mom extorted me using my birthday to go to Bible study. Yeah, that's not good either. Emotional extortion is abuse. That's holding something over your head. Michelle Lynn, good to see you. I saw you last night and couldn't get to you. Welcome, and always good to see you. Okay, bear with me as I go along. Bear with me. Kev Dower says, tonight's chat is hitting home. Oh, geez. It's either you or Orlando. You know what I mean? And there was somebody else yesterday, too. Yeah, I can't remember. That's probably age, too, you know? But I'm glad it's hitting home. Good to see you, and welcome to the chat. Randy L says, Nigerian. Oh, nice. Well, they're known to be an interesting culture. You know what I mean? And they pray so good. They pray so good. Yeah, Ellie Wynn says aggressive prayers. Yes. My grandmother would literally shake the house with her prayers. And I would just be like, oh my God, do we have to do this? Can you just quietly say a prayer and just be quiet? I think God hears that too. But no, she would just be like this roaring lion, you know? So she was something. Consider your ways. Ooh, I like that. Hello and welcome. Welcome to the channel, and good to see you tonight. All right, bear with me. And we have one last piece of the chat tonight. We're going to wrap up. Lore Fit, hello and welcome. Good to see you tonight. Lore Fit says, believing that family is everything can make it difficult to move on from toxic family. The reality is family is not everything if they hurt you. Thank you for quoting me, Lore Fit. Totally agree. Family is not everything if they hurt you. When they hurt you, you're right? Because there's no difference between a family that hurts you and a stranger or somebody that you've married or you're in a relationship with hurts you. There's no difference between the two. We can all argue, well, blood is thicker than water. Okay, we can argue that, but I don't agree with that. Because I think time has educated us better to the reality that you can adopt and be closer than a biological family. You can love from afar, right? And not be blood or close to people. So reality says family is not a group of people who should get a free pass to hurt and abuse and neglect you, right? So 100%. That is a false reality that we all, I think, have been taught, is that family is everything. You know, there's a guy that is on a radio station locally. I've said this before. My brothers listen to him, my mom. And sometimes my mom will, you know, be in the kitchen and she'll turn it on because she's just used to hearing his voice in the morning. So, you know, he's talking and he says, family is everything. And then he says it again, family is everything. If you don't have family, you don't have anything. You have nothing. You are completely nothing. You don't have it. And he just goes on and on. And I sit there sometimes at my counter and I'm thinking, I wish this guy would just completely go somewhere and just shut up, because that is not the reality of life, right? Not everybody has a good mother, like we said at the very beginning. Not everybody has a good family, like we said at the very beginning, right? And so does it mean your life is over because you don't have a family? Does it mean your life is over because your mom is cold, callous, and narcissistic? Not at all. You've got life to go. You've got miles to travel in your life, right? And that may not include that false reality of family is everything, right? So I say family is everything when you love each other. You're unconditionally loving each other, when there's mutual respect, when there's gratitude and forgiveness and all of that. Family is everything then, right? My mom is everything to me. I hug her every day, all day. And, that's wonderful. But there's a flip side. And that's what we're talking about in tonight's live chat. Thank you for bringing that up, Laura Fett. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Wait, guys, I'm trying to catch up here. Yeah. Randy says, yeah, some elders told me to just ignore stalkers. It is like dismissive. It is dismissive. You can't ignore people who don't know a boundary, Yeah. Orlando says, can't live in a delusional world. Dr. Right Life Truth Teller is giving their perception of this. I will put it up on this screen. Okay. Sana, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Sana says, I'm different to Mother's Day. The last Mother's Day card gift I gave was a preteen. I was always the truth teller scapegoat. I don't protect nor pretend. My mother is a narcissist. No contact since college. Wow. Ooh, that's rough. That is really rough. I'm so sorry to hear that. Coral Sky, hello and welcome. Good to see you in tonight's live chat. Coral Sky says, hi TM, your lottery analogy describes my adult life. I would even boomerang home after breaking away. Yes, even after knowing things won't change. I really appreciate your work. Thank you so much. And I appreciate that. And I can see that it is that constant. Why do you keep going back and doing the same thing over and over? But it's because we're kind of conditioned to give that second chance, that third chance, that fourth chance, And I'm guilty of that as a therapist. Sometimes I really do get abused by new clients, and if I decide to bring on new clients and I do ongoing psychotherapy with them, and I'm not the only therapist. There are other therapists, some on this channel, who have most likely gone through this as well. You get really abused. And so, sometimes I find myself scheduling the same abusive client who schedules, but then never shows, schedules again, but then never shows up again, schedules again, but never calls to cancel when they know they should, or cancels after the appointment is over, right? Or sometimes clients who are disrespectful of the policy, I have tons of policies to protect the rights of others. You guys know, I told you last live chat, a couple live chats ago, I have a policy in my office that says, do not come here with food that you cannot share with anybody else, unless it is a child who is eating, right? Or a child who has McDonald's or pizza, fine. But like the woman I told you guys about a couple of weeks ago, she had a box of cookies and snacks and potato chips for just her kids, and it was making everybody else uncomfortable, So there are policies in my office, and sometimes clients will completely say, oh, I didn't see that policy. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I won't do it again. And guess what they do? They come back and they do it again, or they don't show, or I'm sitting and waiting and they don't call and cancel. Therapists go through this all the time. I think we can all be guilty of that pattern. But why do we keep saying, it's okay? I understand. It's okay. It happens. And sometimes, guess what? You're constantly saying it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And after a certain period of time, you do have to sit and say, why do I keep allowing this? Right? So I think it's something we are all very guilty of, but it's also there to teach us something about our forgiveness style too, and maybe even our inability to respect ourselves enough to say, you know what? You're done. You're done. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. Sylvia Love Jones, hello and welcome. Happy Saturday to you, and always good to see you in the chat. Mazik Val, or Mist, or Mrs. K for you. Hello. That's a little bit of that's catchy. I can't figure that out. I need to look at that for a couple of hours to figure out how to pronounce it. Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for being kind, and welcome to the channel. I don't remember seeing you. Yes, somebody gifted you a membership. I put you up there so that whoever did it can see it. Okay, bear with me. Okay, bear with me. Orlando says, Buddy knew what he wanted. Yeah, but no, relationships are a two-way street. I don't like you. I mean, I don't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm just not I'm not interested, you know. You know what I mean? So I'm not trying to be rude or uppity or anything like that. He knew what he wanted, but I knew what I want as well, and it wasn't him. You know, he was creepy. He was creepy. But that's funny. That's funny, Orlando. That's what my brother said, to be very honest. Ugh. M. Odell says society is far too lenient with stalking behavior. It isn't flattering or cute. It's like, oh yeah, I agree. I agree. Yep. I do not disagree. Give It a Think says, one of my dreams is to start a line of authentic and Give It a Think. Am I supposed to laugh at that? Because that is the cutest. That is the cutest thing I have ever heard. I'm going to read this so you guys can hear it. Okay. One of my dreams is to start a line of authentic and non-Hallmark greeting cards for narcissistic family members. I'm trying so hard not to crack up right now. My narcissistic relatives obsessed with greeting cards with bribe money inside. Oh God. Give It a Think. That was the best comment of the night. I'm going to star that, okay? If you ever come out with that non-Hallmark authentic card line, let me know, because I will definitely help you promote it. You guys are so funny. I tell you, sometimes I'm on my phone at night and I'm scrolling down the chat just to see, and I'm cracking up. Okay. You guys are therapy for me. Mark Lee, hello, and glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Welcome. Mark Lee says, my family dynamics don't seem to totally line up with anything I'd think a psychologist would class as narcissist, but much would. It's very confusing. So I just focus on my own improvement. Yeah, I understand. Totally understand. One last comment here, and I'm going to go back, and then we're going to wrap up. Jazz Fuzz, hello and welcome. Good to see you in tonight's live chat, and welcome to the channel. Jazz Fuzz says, during COVID-19 time, I went to the gym to work out. My mom kept telling me I'm going to get COVID-19 and bringing it to the house, meaning getting everyone else sick in the house. Well, my nephew got it. Oh. Uh-oh. Okay. I'm not sure where to go from that, but I totally get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I'm just not sure where to go with that. Sorry, guys. Is my camera unfocused? Yes, it was. Okay. I put that up there and read that for people to see. Okay. Let's go back to the content. Okay. So what's going on here? We know what's going on inside of us, right? When we find that reality is a little bit difficult, or we find that sometimes we have a paralysis of analysis. And how do we go through the process of just getting rid of false reality? You know, why do we accept false reality sometimes? Research suggests that we do something known as effective forecasting. Effective forecasting. It's hard for us to be in a position sometimes where we have to be faced with reality. We don't want to be faced with reality because it's painful. But sometimes, because our back is against the wall, we're seeing things for what they really are. It's a painful reality. Psychology says that we engage in effective forecasting, where we kind of predict our future feelings. We predict our future feelings and we kind of cave. So an example of this would be, let's say for Mother's Day this year, for tomorrow, you realize that I never have any fun at my mother's house. My narcissistic brother is going to be there. Cousins are going to be around that I don't like. My aunt, who's a narcissist, is going to be there. But if I don't go, I'm going to get a phone call from extended family as to why I didn't call. I'm going to have to deal with the things that I don't want to deal with. So I'm just going to go because I don't want to deal with the negative feelings I'm going to have, the guilt that I'm going to feel because they're going to call me and guilt me for not showing up. And I don't want to have to deal with just mom yelling and screaming, saying that I don't respect her. So I'm going to go. Effective forecasting. You are literally forecasting and fortune telling and foreseeing ahead of time what it is that you're going to have to deal with. So what do? You kind of put away your reality, which is that you don't get along with your family. You push that to the side and you go ahead forward and embrace your family. So effective forecasting. Sometimes we rather suffer pain than accept reality, right? I'm just going to sit through this painful Mother's Day. I'm just going to sit in front of this narcissistic father of mine and this arrogant sibling so that I can get from this point to that point unscathed. So I'm going to accept the pain. So we rather accept the pain sometimes than reality. And that's a constant thing. We also realize that we have to realize, I'll put it this way, we have to realize that even around holidays like Mother's Day, we can send the message that we want nothing to do with an inauthentic family dynamic. No response is actually a response. No response is actually a response. So if you decide not to respond this Mother's Day, what do you think is going to happen? It's not going to necessarily always go well. It's not going to necessarily always be something that you can push down and ignore and act like didn't happen. No response is a response. So you do want to go forth and expect some kind of backlash, expect some kind of something, because no response is still a response. Can you believe that? You also, and I think this is something that we all need to deal with, you also want to learn and embrace accepting that you're not going to get anything in return. Accepting that you're not going to get anything in return. So this is all a part of the process of accepting, right? Accept that you're not going to get anything in return. You may send a text message to mom tomorrow, or you may reach out to that family member over there and they completely ignore you, ghost you, stonewall, say hello, but never respond to any more of your text messages, right? Anything is likely to happen in an unstable family dynamic. The reality is it's an unstable family dynamic, right? False reality says everything is going to be okay. It's not. You guys know that. You've already said it in the chat box. Sometimes you just have to accept it for what it is, right? So accept that they are going to not have anything to say to you in return for the most part. No response is a response, right? So if you don't respond to them or say anything to them or say anything to your mother for Mother's Day, know that that is a response and you may get some backlash, and expect nothing positive in return. I often tell my clients that when you know that you're in a toxic family dynamic, understand that you don't need to expect something that is going to be positive. Expect to get nothing back in return. The other thing is you can kind of go along through this acceptance process of where you are, and acceptance process in your family, by using your silence. Use your silence as an advantage, or to your advantage, I should say. You don't have to send a text message. You don't have to send an email. You don't have to say anything on the day. You could say something the day before. You could say something the day after. You could send something randomly, right? Use silence to your advantage. You can maneuver things a little bit better when you use silence to your advantage. The other thing is this: you can also allow yourself to get into a mindset that you don't necessarily have to say anything. You know, I don't want to say that, but this is kind of, I was going to pull it back because I don't like saying that, but that is the reality of it, right? If you come from a painful, toxic, dysfunctional, abusive dynamic, then you don't have to force yourself to do what you don't want to do. use silence to your advantage. I'm not going to say anything. Or you can choose to engage in some ways and choose to not engage in other ways. Choose to engage in some ways and choose to not engage in other ways. That's another way that you can kind of foster this acceptance process and get through this a little bit easier. You know what I mean? Accepting yourself and your experience is also part of this. You have to learn over time. And I think you guys have. You've learned that this is my experience. I'm going to accept this. This is how I have to be in this experience. So I'm going to accept my experience. And I'm also going to accept that this is the way my family is. Mother's Day may be tomorrow. 4th of July may be on its way. Memorial Day is coming up this month, right? There's holidays out the wazoo coming up in the year, right? Whatever the case, accepting that this is where you are and this is where your family is can take you a very, very long way, right? I'm going to leave it at this. I don't want to throw in too many things. These are just kind of ideas of how to learn to accept this process a little bit better and kind of allowing your mind to shift a little bit to help you accept and continue to accept where you are. Let me share with you, I did have a client a couple of years ago who went through this, and she hated Mother's Day. She hated what it represented. This was the case that I used yesterday to help Jermaine. She didn't necessarily hate Mother's Day. She hated what it represented for her family. She also didn't like the 4th of July because that's like a big cookout day for everybody, a summer kind of a party that people take advantage of. She didn't like Memorial Day because it reminded her of just this, all these continual losses in her family. She didn't like that holiday. She totally didn't like Thanksgiving and Christmas. And she avoided everybody's birthday in her family like the plague, What was sad about this young lady is throughout this process of acceptance, she struggled to make a final stance, and not kind of get into this position of guilt and doubt and fear and say, you know what, it's Mother's Day. I'm just going to go buy my mom a bunch of stuff. I'm going to send her a card. I'm going to give her $1,000. I'm going to write her a check. Everything is going to be great. If I just butter her up, life is going to be different. And so she did that. But what happened? What happened was awful because she went to Mom's house on Mother's Day, had all these bags in her hand for Mom, and Mom did not say thank you. She had her child record the encounter. And I remember her showing me, she was so happy. Her voice was positive. She gave all the gifts to Mom. And Mom says, can you just put them over there? I'll open them later. So she didn't want to open the gifts, My client says to her mother, you don't want to open them right now. And she says, no, I don't. I don't want to open them right now. I'm not in the mood. No, she was a miserable old lady. And my client said, okay, we don't have to do that. Well, how about we brought some food? How about we cook? She says, no, I don't want to eat anything. I had a Snickers bar and some other candy, Almond Joy or something. She says, I'm good for the day. Everything my client did to make her mother happy for the day was met with resistance and cruelty and callousness and rudeness. And so my client came out of that encounter with her mom, realizing after doing all the mental gymnastics we've talked about in this live chat tonight, she realized this is not going to work. I need to make a stand. I need to say this is not going to hurt me anymore. I need to say, yes, I'm not going to call you as much anymore, or I'm just going to go away and I'm going to let you reach out to me because this is a painful reality. And so to this day, she likes Mother's Day because she's a mom, hates it because of the kind of mother that she has. So there may be some points in time in your own life where you have to make that absolute stance or stand and say, you know what? I'm not going to let you do this to me anymore. Okay, let's go back to the chat box. I just want to engage a little bit of you, and then we're going to wrap up. The Good Glow says, my mom is older, and I have no plans to assist my brothers when she takes her last breath. Whew. I have no feelings of regret or guilt. Oh, that's so rough. That's hard. That's really hard. When I have religious clients or clients who share my Christian faith or clients who are Catholic or Muslim or whatever, I often ask them, do you feel that God would be satisfied with you to do that? Do you feel that God would be satisfied with you to do that? Not your opinion, scripture, not your opinion, the rules of your religion, right? Do you feel that that would be acceptable? The other piece of that, sometimes if they're not religious clients, I'll ask them this question: can you live with yourself afterwards? Can you live with the decision that you have made? One of my clients said yes and regretted it when her mother died, regretted it when her father died, and her brother was murdered. So she regretted it even then as well. So you got to find where you are. And it sounds like the good glow. It's a painful reality, but it sounds like you've made that stance, right? Yeah, that's a hard one. I'm sorry that you've been placed in that position. Fairy Girl says, suffer less, heal faster. Agree. Sun and Sunflower says, no contact was the last resort for me. Yep. Okay. Honeybee Journey says, Tamara, can you read and speak to my post? Okay, so it's probably further up in the chat box, which is why I can't see it. Please post it in the comment section, okay? As soon as we are done with this live chat, please post it in the comment section. I will answer it there, okay? I try to literally answer all of you, and sometimes it's really hard. So go ahead. Add that to the comment section, and I will answer. I know, right? It's true, though. Ellie, what is cracking up to? It's true. And thank you, the good glow, for that. Thank you so much. I've gotten to a place where I don't hate my birthday. I just don't want to do anything. You know what I mean? You know how some people say, you know what? I'm turning 50 this year. I just want to do like this big shebang to go into age 50. Seriously? Like for me, when I turn 50, you know what I want to do? I want to go to the beach. Okay. I want to watch the ocean waves. Okay, that's my 50th birthday. And then, okay, I may buy a dog or something. You know, I haven't had a dog since my mother's dog passed away many years ago. But that's my 50th birthday, you know? My birthday this year, you know what I'm going to do for my birthday? Nothing. I hope I'm not pessimistic. I really do. I don't want to do anything. The only thing I want to do is be with my family. Okay. Maybe eat some ice cream, go to the gym, watch a movie or a show, and just be with my family. That's a birthday, you know? Some people want a big shebang. I'm just not. Randy says, Randy. Now you can't change your screen name in the middle of the live chat and confuse me like that. Randy L says, there is pros to everything, T. I don't know. Is there? I don't know. I'm working on it. Gary Bennett, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Good to see you. Yeah, got you. I got you. Yeah. I hope everything goes well. Okay. Bear with me. Mark Lee says, I took care of my mother till 2 weeks from her passing. In our last few months, she woke up. She said, Mark, I never knew you. You're so different than I thought. Woo, yeah. You want to know something, Mark? Okay, I'm going to throw some existentialism in here, some spiritual things. I truly believe that most people who are near death, they wake up. They wake up to the truth of things. They wake up to the reality before them. They wake up to the fact that there's things that they have missed, right? It's almost like those final moments, they can sense it coming and they know that they need to change some things, make some adjustments. They need to be authentic as to how they feel about certain people. It's something I continue to see over and over again, personally and professionally. Now, professionally, I have had clients that have seen me whose parents and grandparents were nearing death. And what the parents and grandparents would do is make all these changes up until their last day or week alive. And it's so shocking. You know, one of my clients, her cousin was the executor of her grandmother's estate. So my client's grandmother had her cousin as the executor of her estate. And guess what? She moved the executor right out of her place a day or so before she died. My grandmother in 2020, when she passed away unexpectedly, I was under the assumption, including my brother and her children, my grandmother's children, that she was going to live and recover from pneumonia and sepsis and be okay. And it was around COVID time. So everybody was just so psychotic about putting on your mask, and you can't see your loved one in the hospital, and you can only wave at them through the window. It was an awful time, awful traumatic time, right? But thankfully, the hospital let me in, and they allowed me to fight for my mother and my brother and my uncle to get in as well. And so we were in there with her. And I just remember she having all of us in her hospital room, and she just seemed like she was starting to see everybody differently. She was like, she called me T. So she's like, T, you're going to be the executor of my estate. Pooh is what she calls my mom. Like P-O-O-H, like Pooh Bear. She says, you know, I don't want you to be a part of this. You know, she kind of changed some things with my uncle. She changed her view of her extended grandchildren in some ways. It was a painful thing to see, Mark Lee, but it is something that I continue to see over and over again. I truly think that we know when our time is almost up, and sometimes they don't wake up. We don't wake up, right, until the last moment, right? It makes you wonder, have we been living in a false sense of reality in some respects, you know? Nikki N, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. That looks like my hair in the morning. Exactly how my hair looks in the morning. Nikki N says, my mom was horrible to me. I managed to drop off a card Friday. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's rough. But I understand. It's like that tug of war. Should I do it or should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? Should I, right? Yeah, I get you. I get you. Orlando, let me see what you're saying before I scroll past you. What are we saying about menopause? Orlando says, menopause bought my ex-wife more time in our marriage. I gave her the... Orlando, I'm going to star that comment. What is wrong with you guys tonight? I'm laughing at you guys for the first time live, I think. Oh, goodness. Orlando, that's hilarious. Honeybee Journey, thank you for saying that. Yep, there you go. So they can see it. All right, pound cake. I love it. I'm going to continue calling you that. Miss Janine, hello and welcome. Always glad to see your positivity. Miss Janine says, my family always makes me feel like I'm going no contact, but I rather enjoy having them in my life because I love them so much, even though it's difficult. Yeah, I totally get that. I was like that with my extended family. It's like, but I love you and I love you and I love you. But why do you get on my nerves so much? You know, so you kind of have to balance that, right? Yeah, it's a sad reality. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up here in just a little bit. Tim and Miranda, hello and welcome from Alaska. That's awesome. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well, and welcome to the chat. So good to see you. I can work things out, Breezy. Thank you for the super chat. You're so giving, and I think that's so wonderful. Thank you for gifting people and giving super chats. I so appreciate you for that. Timmer Miranda says, I went no contact with my mother 9 years ago. Ah, that's awful. Yeah. Did you know that there is research that suggests that going no contact in recent society is almost the number one thing that adult children do when it comes to toxic family dynamics? It is at the top of the list for adulting, going no contact. And I looked at that research and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Going no contact is something that happens today more than it ever has before. What does that say, right? Blank Earth, hello and welcome. Good to see you back tonight. Nancy R., thank you so much for that. And you're welcome. There's a strategy to the stories that I share. I know that some of you have already picked up on that because you've let me know in the comments section. There's strategy to me sharing some things about my mom, but there's also some spontaneous stories that I share that I later say, you know what, that was therapeutic. I think I'm going to do it again. So thank you for saying that. Yeah. It's like sharing the love with you when I share my mom. You know what I mean? Honeybee Journey, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure. Fairy girl, you did not. Fairy girl, I love you. Guys, she has gifted 10 of you with a membership. That is beautiful. And you are giving as well. I find that, you know, when I go through the chat box, I see how you guys give to each other, and it's so beautiful. Thank you, Fairy Girl. I wanted to put you up on screen so people can see that you have gifted 10 people with a membership tonight. Thank you so much. And Fairy Girl, you know, that helps my channel too when you gift people with a membership, because you're kind of helping to build the membership part of the channel, which means that you guys are invested in the content and you're allowing me to continue to give you the best content that I can. So thank you as well, Fairy Girl. All right, guys, I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anyone. Oh, thank you, Jessica J. You're so sweet. And I really appreciate you. I hope that the weekend is a lot better for you than the week has been, you know? Guys, okay, let me see. Let me just do a couple more, then we're going to go. Tammy Nicely says, is the compassion I feel for my narcissistic, abusive, bullying mother a trauma bond, Tamara? It can be, and it cannot be, right? You could be a very loving, giving person who knows how to forgive, whether you intend to forgive or not. You could be a loving, forgiving person who knows that your mother has a problem, your mother is unstable, and you want to still have compassion for her. That is a big person. That is a forgiving person. That's a loving person. That is a person who can see beyond flaws. And I highly admire that. I think that's the best heart to have. A trauma bond can be that way as well. But here's what's a little bit different. A trauma bond says that I'm willing to ignore the painful things that you do to me so that I can keep being a part of your life because I need you, right? When you have compassion, you don't need the other person. When you have compassion, you just want to give out of the loving part of your heart. Compassion is not need. Compassion is not, I'm going to lie to myself because I want you in my life, right? Compassion is a selfless gesture. And so those are the differences I can see between the two. So I tend to lean towards it is compassion, Tammy. That's what I think. Your fave psycho. Oh my God. That is not that screen name is a little bit risky and racy, if you ask me. Yes, I am. I'm definitely reading this chat stream. Somebody answered you for me. Ashika Whitaker, hello and welcome. Good to see you in tonight's live chat. Always good to see you. I'm just scrolling to make sure I haven't missed anyone that I just want to bring say hello to or anything. I think we're good. I think no, we're not. CBs, hello and welcome. Good to see you. Love seeing you in the chat box as well. Thank you so much, Sun and Sunflowers. I appreciate you. Guys, let's go ahead and wrap up, okay? Thank you so much for being with me in this very abstract, existential, emotional, and psychological conversation tonight. Next week, we're going to jump into some more interesting topics, and I'm going to post a video sometime next week, so be ready for that one. Thank you for being with me tonight. Thank you for the memberships and the super chats, the love and affection that you show to each other. I thank you for that as well. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. And for those of you on the channel who have a good mom, happy Mother's Day. Feel free to leave comments in the comment section, how you think, how you feel about the holiday. I will answer them. I'll see you soon. Good night, guys.